Guys, the name of my talk is Creating a Results-Driven Business, Utilizing Cosmeceutical Skincare and Unique Brand Positioning to Elevate Your Business. So I tried to read that whole thing to John earlier and he wouldn't let me finish. That's the whole title. What this is meant to be is an introduction to Is Clinical, the brand. Can I just get a show of hands who's heard of this brand before? Good, so most of you. And also, just how I use the product in my practice, how I integrate the skincare into what I do clinically. Pardon my voice, by the way, I'm just getting over the flu, so still a bit croaky. Okay, so that's me, Dr. Ian Chinsee. I'm based in Brisbane. My clinic is called Inigo Cosmetic, and I opened that in 2020, so right in the middle of COVID, which for some people that would have sounded like a bad idea business-wise. For us, it was actually really good because I'm predominantly a surgical business. I do primarily cosmetic breast surgery. And at the time when we were going through the lockdowns, in Brisbane it was only about 8 weeks, thankfully, not like Melbourne. But during that time, I did a lot of virtual or telehealth consultations for surgery. So when we came out of lockdown, I had 40 people waiting to go. And from there, word of mouth just spread and the numbers built that year. So that really is what allowed me to open the clinic, was the surgical side of the business. Now, prior to that, I'd been contracting for other surgical clinics. I'd say at least 6 in the years leading up to opening my own clinic, and only 2 of them stocked any sort of skincare range. So a lot of them were purely focused on the surgery. It was just about getting those numbers through. There was no adjunct to that treatment. And the ones that did sell skincare, oftentimes it was just there on the shelf. And I'm a bit naive. You could argue I'm still a bit naive about business. But when I first started, I thought, all right, I'm going to model myself the same way. I'm going to get a skincare range in, put it on the shelf, and it's just going to sell, and it's going to be great. We're going to make a lot of money. And for those of you who have tried to sell skincare, it's not always the case. It's not going to sell itself. I think you really have to put some effort into promoting it, working with the brands as well, and allowing that skincare to support what you do, to support your why, as Nicole said. So we'll move on here. Alrighty, so here's just a look at the market, the skincare market. As we all know now, the state of the economy is not great. So, cost of living is expensive. People aren't spending a lot of money. We've noticed a bit of a decline in surgical services, even some of the more expensive advanced treatments, we've noticed a decline. But where we've seen things holding steady is in skincare. It's in some of the facials that we offer. The lesser, the least pricey treatments that we do. People are still wanting to do that. They're still wanting to do something for themselves, to feel good about themselves, to improve their appearance without breaking the bank. So we can see the projection here in the graph. The trajectory is increasing. That skincare spend is expected to more than double by 2032. And so why do we think this is? So there's a few reasons. I think number one, people are just starting to care more about their skin. I think more attention's being placed on it. We talked about, it has been talked about, the whole Zoom boom with COVID lockdowns, and everyone's on Zoom, and everyone's working from home, and they're not looking at their group chat, they're looking at their little window of themselves on the camera, and everyone, yeah, I'm guilty as well. We all do it. So I think people have been scrutinizing their own skin more and more, and are wanting to put more of that effort into their skincare. Consumer awareness about different products and about different treatments via social media. I think a really big one is TikTok, which I'm not really well versed in TikTok, but I hear about it from the younger members of my team, and they're always telling me about a new trend or a new product or a new something that can be done in the beauty space. Also the trend, which I've noticed more this year, the increase in more natural anti-aging therapies or regenerative medicine therapies. A lot of you guys may have jumped on the exosome bandwagon. And I think a lot of patients are very excited about that as well, because it is a more natural way to rejuvenate skin rather than the traditional dermal fillers, the anti-wrinkle injections. So all of that it's a softer approach to the cosmetic industry. It's not like going in, hitting yourself with a hard laser, shutting away for 1 to 2 weeks, or getting a facelift and being swollen for a while. It's a more gradual result that you can expect without any downtime. So when I opened the clinic and everyone was telling me, yeah, you do need skincare, this supports that idea. You do need skincare. You need to get into this market if you want to have a complete business. So how do I decide who I want to work with skincare-wise? Well, before I go on to that, I want to ask some questions. Who has a skincare range in their clinic at the moment? Okay, who has more than one? Who has more than two? Who has more than three? Okay, that's impressive. So I have 3. I thought that was a lot, but some of you have beat me there. How did I decide initially? So again, coming into business, opening the clinic, I didn't know a whole lot. I knew a couple of brands that I'd seen at conferences. I'd had some brands recommended to me. I tried them out on myself, and I thought, yeah, that's fine. Skin feels good. I didn't try them for long enough to really notice if there was going to be any change in my skin, just that it was a nice experience to use, and the product smelled good, and it was skincare. So there it is. It's in the clinic. And that was fine. People came in, and they would buy some skincare every now and then, but we weren't moving the sorts of volumes that had been promised, per se, or that I would like to move. And also, I wasn't feeling rewarded by skincare sales. It was purely just revenue. There was nothing rewarding about it. It was simply a financial transaction. So I had to think a bit more about bringing in a company that I'm going to feel good about recommending, that has good products, and that's going to fulfill me in some other way besides financially. So some of the criteria that I look at, brand values, and this comes back to, again, to Nicole's talk. You've got to look at your branding. You've got to look at the company's branding that you work with, because it has to align. You can't have completely disparate, approaches to treating patients. I think with Is Clinical, for instance, this is a brand that aligns with the patient's values, not just your own, but you want your patients as well, because that's who you're selling to. Those are your customers. So with Is Clinical, they are pregnancy and breastfeeding safe. All of their products are. And so this is important. I have a predominantly female patient-centric business, and so that is an important thing, whereas sometimes we would have a patient come in who was pregnant, and with some of the other skincare lines, immediately we couldn't use certain retinols and other things because they were pregnant. The manufacture and the testing of these products is cruelty-free. They also put funding into cancer research, and so they're supporting something bigger than themselves, and I like that about them. I feel like we should all be that way, and again, that leads more into that the fulfillment aspect of things. In terms of the ingredients, now 95 to 98% of the ingredients that are used in Is Clinical products are botanically derived, so high quality ingredients, very, very important, because number one, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, the products have to work. The skincare has to work. It can't just feel nice. It can't just smell nice. The packaging looks good. I mentioned before, so in my clinic, I've got an archway, which is next to the reception desk, and it's got all these shelves on it, and the skincare products go there. So as part of the whole clinic aesthetic, it's got to look good in the clinic. You don't want to be putting products on your shelf that don't mesh with the atmosphere. Clinical studies. I like a company that does the hard work for me in terms of studies and evidence that I can reference. And the studies have to be done on the final formulations. This is really important. A lot of skincare, well, not a lot, but some will put out papers saying that they've got proven effects of an ingredient that is contained in their skincare, but that doesn't tell you anything about how it works with the other ingredients. So it's about the synergy. And not only is it about the synergy within the skincare product, but it's about how it works with the other things that you do. So we'll get to that in a second. And finally, the support from the team, I think, is really, really important. So I always say the brand, when I think about companies that we work with, the brand is the people. And I want to work with those people. Those people mesh with me, they mesh with my staff, and it just feels like a partnership rather than they've sold me something and then they're just out the door, like, see you. You know? So I think that's very important. Now, IsClinical itself, it's a globally recognized brand. It's in 120 countries. So they've got a very, very strong social media following, which is very important these days. A lot of celebrities endorse their products as well, and this is not necessarily paid endorsement. This is, they've tried the product, they like it, they're going to talk about it. And this leads into the whole grassroots word-of-mouth marketing that we do with IsClinical, as well as the brand does itself. Okay, let's look at some results of skincare. So this patient had I think it was a BCC cut out from his upper lip with a flap repair. And so you can see there, surgical repair, very neat. We usually expect surgical scars to heal pretty well. This is a 22-day result that you're looking at with the use of super serum and shield recovery bombs. That's two of the products that IsClinical offers. This is one of the photos, or I don't know if it was exactly this one, but a similar one that inspired me to integrate this treatment into my surgical patients' scar care. And so now every breast patient that I have goes home with a bottle of super serum and shield recovery as part of their post-op regimen. So very impressive results there. This is a little boy who had hot coffee spilled on him. And this is not the case from Brisbane recently, which was horrible, but this is another one. And he was treated with shield recovery, and you can see that's a 30-day treatment. So very, very good results from that. Shield is one of the products that we use in the clinic as part of the back bar as well. So post-needling, post-aggressive treatments, just to bring that redness down, to calm the skin. Even on injectables, I do a lot of Reduran injections lately, and I'm putting Shield over them afterwards. Okay, this is a case of rosacea, very, very bad rosacea, and you can see 14 days. So this is only 2 weeks with ProHeal and HydroCool. So really, really good. This regimen as well, good for post-laser. Okay, so here's one of my patients who had an augmentation mastopexy, and I don't have the timeline on this one, unfortunately, but this is a patient who would have had surgery. We keep dressings on for, probably for this patient would have been about 6 weeks with Steri-strips and waterproof dressings. After that, we start in on the super serum and the shield, and it brings the redness down. It really fades those scars quite a bit. That last photo is probably a 6-month photo. And then the patient on the right side of the screen scarred very badly, obviously, and so with the skincare alone, we're really able to improve that. I think that patient has gone on since to have microneedling, RF microneedling, so that's another treatment that we do for the breast scarring. All right, so very, very important to involve your own team in skincare. Again, early on, another mistake I made was bringing in a skincare range and saying, all right, guys, this is it. This is what we're selling. Go sell it. And that was a mistake because I had a dermal therapist come up to me afterwards and say, I really don't like this product. You know, not this one, but this is a different skincare range. I don't like it. It's oily. It just doesn't feel good. So I said, okay. When we brought in IsClinical, I had a bit of a powwow. So I like to speak to the team and involve everyone in the decision making so that everyone feels like they're a part of it and everyone's happy because your team is the one that's really going to be pushing the products. So you want them to be on board with you. Not only do you have to involve your own team, you have to involve the IsClinical team. So the IsClinical team is already involved. You know, they believe in the products, they know they're good products. They then have to be involved in your clinic. And that's one of the things I really like about the company because anytime we need them to come in and do education, they'll come in and do that, whether it's via Zoom or coming in person, coming in to tell us about new products and just educate the staff. So if we hire a new dermal therapist, they'll come in and do a session, like a full day session, going through all the products with them. And there's handbooks, and it's like uni. So the education is very, very good, and they're very involved in your clinic. As I said before, if the products work, and they do, the patients are going to like the results. The patients are going to talk about the results that they get, and they're going to be excited. They're going to go on their social media, and this is how it spreads organically. So you really don't have to put a lot of effort into marketing the products. You can use the marketing material that Is Clinical provides on your own social media. They produce some very high quality posts that you can use. But as I said, a lot of it's word of mouth, and I think that's more genuine for a lot of people. They're more willing to go along for the journey with you. All right. So maximizing your success. You guys can read the slide. It's a lot of stuff I've said already, but I just want to tell you a little bit about how I use it now. So I've already mentioned integrating it into all of my surgical patients. So that's amazing. It's kind of like passive income for me in that I'm doing surgery and I'm automatically selling skincare. That's great. They get good scars. The other way that I personally use it in the clinic is doing full facial consultations now. So patients will come in. I use a Vectra 3D system, and you could use the Visia as well, anything that provides skin analysis. It gives you a few different categories. So it'll give you spots, wrinkles, texture, pores, brown pigment, and red pigment, and it gives the patients a score out of 100. So 100 is the best and 0 is the worst. It's great to show the patients because you can then quantify the condition of their skin and say, this is where you are now. Let's talk about your skincare. And I ask them, AM, PM, what's your routine? Tell me everything. Tell me the brands. Tell me how you use it. Tell me how often you use it. And I don't want to rubbish anyone's skincare routine, but I say, this is where I think you can fill some gaps in what you're doing now. And I will recommend whatever products I think from the Is Clinical range, based on their skin analysis, will go into their existing routine. And I think patients are really happy with that approach because they're not insulted that you think their skincare routine's rubbish. They are happy that you're willing to work with what they have, even if what they have is just Cetaphil. And that's been the case sometimes. And they like their Cetaphil cleanser, their moisturizer, but they need to put some actives in, and that's where the products come. So that's the other side of the approach to how I incorporate Is Clinical products into clinical work, and that's been a really popular way of doing it. I've had patients now who have come to see my dermal therapist for needling or something else. They hear about these facial consultations and they want to do it as well because they want to go through everything and they want to know, how can I improve myself, even incrementally? What can I do? What can I change to get a better result than I already have? So it really just comes down to the products. Number one, as I said, they work. First and foremost, you have to partner with a brand whose products are going to work for you. Number two, partner with a brand who's going to work within your clinic as well. So the products work, the team works, and that's where you can get harmony in treatment. And patients can see that, they can feel that, they're satisfied, you're satisfied, and everyone's happy at the end of the day. So that's in a perfect world, right? But thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day.